Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I am your host John, and today here on the channel we're going to be talking about Eddington and its brand new A24 4K Blu-ray that just came out. But before we get into that 4K Blu-ray review, I always like to give a quick film review, and today is no different. So if you don't want to know anything about the film Eddington and you're just here for that 4K Blu-ray review, you guys can skip ahead right now. And if you are here for that film review, remember, this is going to be full-fledged spoilers because I did do a non-spoiler review here on the channel. So if you don't want to know anything, and I mean anything, please make sure you guys skip ahead. So earlier this year, Ari Aster delivered to us his fourth film that he has directed, starring Joaquin Phoenix as Sheriff Joe Cross. It also stars Pedro Pascal as Ted Garcia. Emma Stone pops up in this movie. So does Austin Butler and plenty of other great actors. And Ari Aster has been one of my favorite directors working. I might not love all of his movies. Like, I felt like Midsommar was a great swing. It just didn't 100% make full contact for me. It was like a ground rule double. I really appreciated it. And then Beau is Afraid, another one that was just a great movie, but I wasn't necessarily in love with it. But when you go back to his first film, Hereditary, I have said a million times here on the channel that that is the best film to come out in probably the last 10 to 15 years. It's an absolute masterpiece. And you know what? Eddington gets pretty damn close as well. The problem with Eddington is it came out in a year that also includes Sinners and One Battle After Another. So even though I think this is a fantastic 10 out of 10 perfect film, it might not be the best film of the year. I think there's a big gap between the great films of 2025 and just the average to bad films of 2025. Like, the cream always rises to the top. There's just not that much cream this year, unfortunately. So the stuff that we have gotten that's been great, like Eddington, might still get lost in the shuffle. And another big reason why is this movie is very political. If you guys saw the movie Begonia or One Battle After Another, there is a theme in 2025 movies, and that's turning the mirror against society itself, especially American society and everything that is happening here. This takes us back to May 2020, if you guys remember that. The COVID virus was in full effect. We were in a pandemic. You know, this is right when the mask mandate came in, and of course that started to divide people and show that not only are politics at the forefront, but ideology and the way people live. Should you wear the mask? Should you not wear the mask? Joaquin Phoenix's character falls on one side of this, while Mayor Ted Garcia falls on the other. And we can see that these two, they have a little bit of a past, because Emma Stone, who's married to Joe Cross, her mother says that she was assaulted by Ted Garcia and got her pregnant. And Emma Stone doesn't really ever bring this up until later in the movie, when she says, I wasn't abused by Ted Garcia. I was mentally abused by my mother, and my husband is now helping them. I was never abused by Ted Garcia. And that's really where the movie just goes fucking off the rails from there, because everything before this is about, like, the tension in the town. You know, Black Lives Matter, all of that is in this movie as well. This is the movie I was talking about earlier this year. It had one of the funniest scenes of the year where
changing institutions, dismantling whiteness, and not allowing whiteness to reassert itself.
Are you fucking retarded? What the fuck are you talking about? You're white.
By the way, in this town of Eddington, Black Lives Matter, nobody is black. There's not a black person in that BLM movement. The one black character we see is a sheriff in this town. And, you know, one thing I did appreciate is that the Joe Cross character did keep checking in on him to make sure he was okay. Of course, we know about the Cross character and everything he is going to be doing, because we follow him through the whole movie, and he is not a great person. Like, about halfway, maybe a little past halfway, we see him kill this one homeless character who was a big part of the early part of the movie, and he's kind of a through line through the rest of it until he ends up dying. And then we see him go over to Ted Garcia's house and kill him and his son. And then we're still with him for the rest of the movie. You know, he's getting COVID. Like, that sense of dread that Ari Aster knows how to build up in all of his movies as things just start going off the rails is completely in this film as well. Once he kills Ted Garcia, he's, you know, he's kind of covering it up, trying to make it look like it's Antifa or BLM. And then literally, like, a literal Antifa plane is flying into this town to create chaos. And, I mean, like, literally, we have explosions, gun battles, all the way to the point where the Joaquin Phoenix character, we think he might maybe pull it off. Someone runs up to him with a knife, stabs him in the head, and, you know, you're like, ah, he's dead. But, of course, being an Ari Aster film, we have to give it the most dark, bleak ending. He lived, and now he has to share a bed with his mother-in-law, who's fully taking advantage of him, just like, you know, she's a blood-sucking tick. She takes advantage of everybody, but she's sharing a bed with him because he's paralyzed. He can't do nothing by himself. But then, you know, I guess guess a little fuckboy who also pushes her around the wheelchair, gets in the bed with her and him as well. And you're just like, oh my God, what a terrible ending. So there are things worse than death, and this character probably deserves things worse than death. Now, when this movie came out, it was very like polarizing because people were like, oh, they're just taking shots at the right, they're just taking shots at the left. I felt like they were pretty even when I was watching it, and it's funny, I think it might actually line up with your own personal political beliefs, because I'm a very neutral person and I could see the shots being taken at both sides, whereas my wife, you could say she leans a little bit more left, and she's like, man, they were really attacking the left in that movie. I'm like, you didn't see really many attacks on the right? She's like, no, it was mostly attacks on the left. So, you know, it's funny how you can watch the movie and have different viewpoints of it. And I think that's the point. It's like kind of an experiment, this movie. While it's still entertaining as hell, it's got all the great Ari Aster-isms in there. This is also a modern-day Western taking place in New Mexico. So the score is great. It looks fucking great. It's got this amazing color palette. Emma Stone and Austin Butler's character, like, that's a whole nother story in this movie, like, exploring, like, you know, obviously, Ari Aster, he likes to explore cults in a lot of it. He likes to explore cults in a lot of his movies, and she, you know, gets infected, essentially, by a cult because her life has been filled with so much trauma that she needs some sort of comfort, and here comes Austin Butler being able to, like, provide that comfort. And, you know, we don't really linger on that too much. It's just, like, all in the background. That's why it's such a well-written story. Like, even at the beginning, they're talking about this data mining center. We make sure we close that loop at the very end of this movie. That's how good of a screenplay this film is. It's beautifully written, beautifully directed, beautifully acted. It is one of the best films of 2025. But how is this 4K Blu-ray? Let's talk about it. And here it is, Eddington on 4K Blu-ray. This one is from A24, and I have a few A24 movies that I've bought on 4K Blu-ray. I'm not a big fan of the barcode, but we will talk about the X trilogy pretty soon. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that either. So A24, they take some risks. They try and keep everything uniform in their own uniform way. I just don't know if I 100% always vibe with them. Like I said, everything else is pretty cool. Like, this has got like a lifted kind of glossy font. Appreciate that. When you come inside, you know, that's a great scene as well. When Emma Stone, when she comes home, when you turn this way, there's your one disc, one 4K Blu-ray disc. You'll have one featurette on there, one extra. There are some lobby cards as well. I'm not gonna pop all those out and like waste all your guys' time. But you do have your extras, and there is only one featurette. I was a little bit disappointed by that, but it's the one featurette that I always ask for, and that's a making of documentary. It's a 33-minute long making of documentary, so I personally appreciate and love that. But there really isn't anything. In fact, there is nothing else, and that is a little bit disappointing again, you know, just in comparison to what other studios do. But the big difference between A24 is they don't really charge as much. I believe this is $35 if you bought it right from them, but you could have bought it from like a third party for like $30, and that's not too bad. Like we talked about Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands, you know, had one featurette as well, but that featurette was like 4 minutes, whereas this is a 33-minute make it of. But if people like commentary tracks, you probably would have wanted that, and I don't think we got that here, so it's a little bit disappointing, even though I was happy, but I have to think about the crowd as well, and I think a lot of people might be a little bit disappointed with one featurette. Now, as far as the audio goes and the visuals, now these are phenomenal. It's a modern 2025 film that was shot beautifully. The audio is great. When I saw it in theaters, the audio was great. Now you get a Dolby Atmos track at home, and yeah, it's one of the best Dolby Atmos tracks of 2025. And one thing you'll notice is, you know, visuals, when we get the visual jump from an old film to, like, when we get that visual jump for an old film, when we go from Blu-ray to 4K Blu-ray, it's like stunning night and day. We don't really necessarily get that with audio. Like our Dolby Atmos tracks for an older movie, especially lately, haven't really been packing the punch. Now, modern films like this movie, which is using modern technology, probably way better to record, and when we're mixing that into a Dolby Atmos track, you know, we do get that bass bump. We do get all those. We really can feel things moving around the room. We can feel gunshots feeling powerful. And I really think they did a great job with that in this Dolby Atmos track. So it's one that's going to give your system a workout. It is one of the best ones of the year. Now, the visuals are also fantastic. But again, I've only seen it in a Dolby theater and now seen it at home. So this movie has always looked better. So this movie has, in the 2 times I've seen it, looked amazing. I would even argue it might have looked better at home. And they are just doing great work when it comes to the visuals. I'm more surprised now when visuals don't hit 9 or 10 out of 10 quality anymore. I'm usually surprised when that happens because for the most part, 4K Blu-rays are really getting up there, especially if you have the right player and the right TV to really be just beautiful pieces of art. And I try and, point this out. I try and ask my wife what she thinks. She's like, my God, it does look gorgeous. So at least I know it's not just me trying to overhype and justify my purchase. I actually really do think that this is a fantastic looking 4K Blu-ray. It sounds great. Would have liked a little bit more choices for extras, but I still appreciate that making of on here. It's priced pretty fairly. The packaging is good. I love the film. I think it's one of the best of the year. So overall, what would I give Eddington on 4K Blu-ray? A score of 1 to 10. I'm going to give Eddington a 9 out of 10. Definitely worth your time and money. And if you don't actually end up wanting to get this A24 4K Blu-ray, I still can recommend the film. I think you can watch it on HBO if I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do recommend checking this out. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's definitely one that's going to be a challenge, but I think you'll appreciate it. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. Also, we have channel memberships, guys, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John Doe Juggalo, Ben Rondo, and Harvey Scott, you can do that, or you can even bump it up to the channel. Directors like Nicholas Head, Kevin Kruger, Uncle V, Stone Gasman, and Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, or you can even bump it up to the channel bankroll members like Mr. Smelly Potato. But of course, guys, if you have no money to throw my way, I don't mind at all. I just hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.